Today we will be hearing case number 3005011, State of California v. Sarah Morrison. The charges brought against the defendant include speeding, evading arrest, and reckless driving. I understand the defendant will be using her calculus students as legal representation. I also understand the defense would like Exhibit A rebuked on grounds of inaccurate presentation. Please begin.
Your Honor, the evidence shown in Exhibit A shows that she began her journey at 3:20 and arrived at 5:38. That is a total of 2 hours and 18 minutes, or 2.3 hours. The total distance traveled is 100 miles. That gives us the average velocity in miles per hour of 43.478. That is well under the speed limit of 65 miles per hour. There is not enough information to prove that she was over the speed limit. This is because she can still reach the same destination in 2.3 hours while remaining well under the speed limit. Due to the graph's accuracy, we now clearly see that Prosecutor Vergreen presented this exhibit in an inaccurate manner.
Thank you. Prosecutor Vergreen's analysis will be thrown out. I'd like to hear the defense's arguments on Exhibit B.
This exhibit is a position over time graph for the defendant's journey from Exciverton to dx dt. Prosecutor Vergreen is trying to use this to prove the defendant was speeding. However, the equation paired with the graph does not actually match. If we graph the equation on a calculator and zoom in, we see it goes below the x-axis on the interval x equal to 0 to x equal to 0.202, and goes under again at x is equal to 1.633. This clearly does not match with the graph presented by the prosecution, and therefore this exhibit should be thrown out.
Thank you. I find this argument valid. The defense's motion to suppress this evidence is sustained, and I understand the prosecution still has more evidence, Exhibits C and D. The defense would like to argue against these as well, so go ahead.
Exhibit C is a graph of the defendant's distance over time from dx dt to g prime. In this graph, we clearly see she traveled to Functionville, back to f of x, then continued on to g prime. This makes her total distance traveled 20 miles longer than initially thought. When we calculate her average velocity over the distance of 120 miles, her average velocity is still well under the speed limit at 52.17 miles per hour. This exhibit is not valid evidence and should be ignored by the jury.
Sustained. The jury will disregard Exhibit C. Please continue.
These exhibits were very suspicious as the prosecution decided to submit them separately instead of together. Your Honor, they were trying to trick the jury. Why does Exhibit C not begin at x equals 0? The prosecution knew that if these exhibits were submitted as a single graph, their argument will clearly be incorrect. The graphs from Exhibit B and Exhibit C do not line up when graphed on the same axes and with restricted domains. This blatant attempt to deceive the jury is offensive.
Sustained. I'm very disappointed in you, prosecutor. I'd like to hear the defense's arguments against Exhibit D now.
Your Honor, Exhibit D, a velocity over time graph, attempts to show Miss Morrison speeding over 3 intervals of time. We calculated the displacement by finding the derivative of each equation over each interval. The derivative then gives us the position function. When we added the position of all 5 equations, we get 118.6371 miles. This displacement does not match that of Exhibit A, which is 100 miles, or Prosecutor Vergreen's claim that this graph is a representation of her 100-mile journey. Therefore, this data is inaccurate and this exhibit should be thrown out. The prosecution has failed to present any accurate evidence implicating Miss Morrison in the crimes she is accused of. Every exhibit has been false or designed to deceive. In light of this complete failure to accurately implicate Miss Morrison, we are moving for a complete dismissal of all charges.
Due to the lack of evidence, I'm not going to let this proceed to the full trial. The defense's motion to dismiss the case is sustained. Miss Morrison, you're free to go. Court is adjourned.